Hey guys, this is Jesse from Central Athlete, and the topic we're going to talk about today is pre-workout nutrition for building muscle. So this is one of the topics that I love to talk about because typically people think, hey, I'm going to work out so I've got to fuel appropriately. And while that's not necessarily a bad idea, pre-workout nutrition is very, very, very individualized to what we're trying to get out of the training, so what outcome we're looking for. Whereas post-workout nutrition is a little bit more ubiquitous. So, one thing I always think about is, back in the days where I was weight training in high school, is people would typically grab a banana or an apple or something like that, and that's kind of their pre-workout energy prior to training. However, I want to shed some light on some studies and some clinical pearls that we've tinkered around with at Central Athlete that really throw some shade to that assumption. So another point before we go down that rabbit hole is that pre-workout nutrition, it's not black and white, it's not ubiquitous. There are going to be trade-offs, but in the context of building muscle, you don't necessarily need to eat carbs prior to training. And so the first physiological piece that we need to understand is that insulin and cortisol have kind of a seesaw effect. When cortisol is low, insulin is high. When insulin is low, cortisol is going to be high. And what we want is we want high cortisol during training. Cortisol can be our friend or our enemy. Studies from Norway and Finland demonstrate that cortisol production is directly proportional with the amount of strength and muscle gains. So the clinical application of this is eating meat and nuts prior to training. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us a higher cortisol, lower insulin type response prior to getting into training. Now, however, I said this isn't really black and white, and there are trade-offs. So there are situations when people are going to have very, very high volume with their training. And so those are the type of people where we're going to want to have some intra-workout or maybe even some pre-workout carbohydrates to help fuel them for training. But additionally, one thing to remember is that post-workout nutrition really dictates the level of glycogen stores. And so really it's a post-workout piece, not a pre-workout piece, that will dictate your fueling before training. So I hope you find this useful, and I want you guys to try to tinker with playing with your pre-workout nutrition and seeing how it affects the long-term effects of building muscle and losing fat. I hope you found this useful, and stay shredded, my friends.